We all know by now that post-takeover episodes of NXT are never the greatest thing in the world, but it does not mean that they are not without their high points. So let's go back to San Antonio one more time. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with what will probably be a relatively short review of NXT. Now, as I said in the open there, we all know that the post-NXT TakeOver episodes of NXT are taped before the TakeOver, so it's all the people that weren't on the TakeOver card. Nobody really involved in any huge storylines, so you're going to get some pretty basic wrestling and no real story progression. Doesn't mean we didn't have a particularly good time, because once again, and I'm going to go into the first match right away, but you've got one or two people here that were left off the card that are typically on your episodes of NXT. So we started off the episode with a lot of highlights from NXT TakeOver, which was, other than the fact that it was ridiculously short-lived and close together and didn't have a lot of time to be booked properly, it was a pretty damn good show, and it followed the typical NXT TakeOver framework that I've talked about in my SmackDown reviews before, because some of their writers are over there now. Basically, you've got a match for your title, a match for your tag titles, a match for your women's title, and usually two other matches. One of them has got a lot of hype, and one of them not so much. I will say that Roderick Strong versus Andrade Cien Almas was a good match that I didn't care about. Let's be real for 1 second. Eric Young, Dillinger, obviously the next night having his moment there. The Fatal 4-Way for the women's title, the tag team title match, which was really surprising, and the main event, which lived up to the typical standard of an NXT TakeOver. It was a pretty damn good show, and some new champions, obviously, that I and a couple of other people that I spoke to definitely did not see coming. Happy about Bobby Roode. Kind of mixed feelings on the Authors of Pain, because they're big. So they're big and they have a mouthpiece. They are the NXT version of Brock Lesnar, so there's that. Started off with Ember Moon versus Aliyah. Ember Moon obviously is the star on the rise, no pun intended, but Aliyah, I gotta go, my girl, my hometown girl from the 6, because she's from Toronto. I'm kind of near Toronto, I guess, so it's the closest thing to a hometown person that I have. The only actual hometown person that I know in the celebrity world is Russell Peters from my city, but that's really not anything to write home about and nothing to do with wrestling, so here we go. I love this, because Ember Moon is clearly going to get a title shot at the WrestleMania attached TakeOver, the TakeOver Orlando. So she's on the rise. She's, you know, the one with the rocket strapped to her ass, which is all good. Kind of feel bad for Nikki Cross, but we'll get to that when we get to it. So you figured this would be a squash, and it really wasn't. Aliyah looked really good in this match. You knew she was going to lose, but she looked really good in this match. We start with a... Sorry, my glasses are fucked. It's way past time for me to get new glasses, but that's another story for another day. Start with a collar and elbow type and a pinning reversal sequence. Vertical suplex and a modified abdominal stretch by Ember Moon. Modified abdominal stretch because she's got her bent over in the abdominal stretch with a neck vise. Basically, I think one of the commentators said she was bent in half and they didn't know what to call it, which is usually what I say about submission moves, isn't it? Snapmare, hip toss, and a neckbreaker from Aliyah. Uppercuts and clotheslines by Aliyah and a corner high knee. Bridging German suplex by Aliyah was pretty fucking stiff for somebody of her size. Second rope moonsault press by Ember Moon, equally as impressive. Head scissor by Aliyah, lariat by Ember Moon, and the Eclipse gets the predictable but still enjoyable win for Ember Moon. I hope and pray, because of the way Nikki Cross was taken out early in the Fatal 4-Way match last Saturday, that she gets stuck in this match, and at TakeOver Orlando it is Cross versus Moon versus Asuka. But that might be a little bit too much to ask. We see a video package, the first of many. This is, again, one of the downsides of these post-TakeOver shows, is you got a lot of video packages. Young Dillinger, good match. I love the sanity gimmick. You guys know that, and they made a point. They kept it in continuity. Nikki Cross was not out there for that match. She was getting ready for her own match. That just makes sense. He's out there with Damo, whatever the fuck the guy's name used to be. Apparently his name's now Killian Dane. So back to the old habit of changing people's names when they come to NXT, which is fine, because I don't know who the fuck he was anyway. Alexander Wolf, Eric Young, Dillinger. Had a great match. over as fuck in San Antonio. Obviously the 10 chants were ringing high, and then you saw clips from his involvement in the Rumble. The clips that they used from his involvement in the Rumble really make it look like Sami Zayn and Dillinger eliminated Braun Strowman, and they didn't, and that makes me smile. But other than that, it was pretty good. Then we switch over to highlights from the Women's Fatal 4-Way. The Women's Fatal 4-Way was a little underwhelming, I'll give it that. It was basically designed to boost Asuka, and make her look even more of a badass, because there's two parts to this story. Billie Kay and Peyton Royce double team the shit out of Nikki Cross, put her through a table, eliminate her from the match. They try to do the same thing to Asuka. Asuka doesn't fall to it because she's a badass and she wins. She's in the back being interviewed after the show. One of the interviewers said, you know, Ember Moon wants a shot at your title, and Asuka, who's supposedly the babyface, really short promo, because, you know, her English isn't the greatest, but basically she says, oh, Ember Moon, who's that? Does she work here? And we see a response from Ember Moon in the back after her match. Basically the typical response that you would expect from somebody up and coming who's got something to prove. Oh, trust me, when I get my hands on her, she's gonna know who Ember Moon is, which is fine. It's all wonderful. It's leading to Orlando. I really hope they keep Nikki Cross in the mix. I'm biased on that. I really don't care. Really cool thing that they did here, and it's not, again, it's not one of those things that's going to set the world on fire, but I like the fact that they did it. It was a big event to show that everybody's here. Rah, we had an appearance from the brand newly crowned UK champion, Tyler Bate, and this gives me an opportunity to take a second to tell you guys what I thought about the UK tournament that happened a couple weeks ago. It was fun for what it was. It was 2 days. It didn't go long like the Cruiserweight Classic did. It wasn't as entertaining as the Cruiserweight Classic did, but in the span of 2 days, 3 or 4 guys that I had no idea about before that weekend did get my attention. Wolfgang got my attention. Definitely the Pete Dunne fucker that was basically messing up everybody got my attention. The guy that was trained by and pretty much looks like Finn Balor got my attention, and Tyler Bate was sort of the underwhelming victor in that. But it's cool, it's fine. Here's this 19-year-old prodigy. He's not even 20 years old and he's already making history. It's all good. They don't have their UK programming set up yet, so you don't want this guy to sit back on his laurels in the UK. Bring him over to the US, introduce him to the crowd that maybe didn't watch the tournament. It's a good little thing, and they put him against Oney Lorcan, who is another odd one because he's one of those guys that doesn't really stick out. He doesn't really stick out. There's no flash and bang to his character. There's no flash and bang to his persona, his work in the ring. But I think he's succeeding because of that, or despite that, and still becoming one of the crowd favorites. I'm not going to say he's one of my favorites, but I don't mind him in the ring. There's people that I would much less rather see in the ring. We're going to get to them later on. But Tyler Bate, new UK champion, versus Oney Lorcan in a special attraction match, as it was announced, which is awkward enough. Collar and elbow tie up and a test of strength. The test of strength is stiff and it lasts a long time, sort of exemplifying that tough knuckle-up UK style, I guess, considering the other one's from Boston. Don't know how that works exactly. Shoving match and a few jabs and a drop kick by Bate. Schoolboy into the bottom turnbuckle by Lorcan. He goes and he whips him into a quick roll up. So you think it's going to be a quick roll up and a quick fluke victory, but instead of rolling him up on the mat, he rolls him up and basically reverse snake eyes him on the bottom turnbuckle. Nice little spot. If this was a hardcore match and that bolt was exposed, that would probably be the end of the match. That was the other thing. A lot of people bleeding from the back of the head in the UK Championship. Let's just talk about that for a second. Mudhole and corner chomps by Lorcan, and some uppercuts and a high knee and a top rope uppercut by Bate. Back elbow by Lorcan, an airplane spin by Bate. The airplane spin is lame enough already without doing the whole whoa one way and whoa the other way. I don't know why. Uppercut by Lorcan, rolling knee by Bate sets him up for the Tyler Driver 97, which is a pop-up snap Batista bomb. Best way I can describe it. Tyler Bate gets the obvious win. It puts over him and it puts over the UK title, and it introduces him to the greater WWE audience. It's all fine. It's all wonderful. Tag team title highlights. As I say, I don't know how I feel about the Authors of Pain being the champions. They just stand there looking big, letting Paul Ellering do all the talking. As I say, Brock Lesnar, but not so much in their presentation. I do like Paul Ellering and his promo style, making these guys basically sound like the physical embodiment of the apocalypse. It's a nice, neat little thing that they're doing there. NXT title highlights, they really focus a lot on the injury to the knee that Bobby Roode capitalized on to win the title, and building sympathy, obviously, for Shinsuke Nakamura. It's a cool way to do it because it shows how vicious Bobby Roode is. It shows how, you know, what's the old adage that they used to use for Edge is being the ultimate opportunist, or as they say for Triple H, the cerebral assassin. That made him look absolutely heartless, absolutely vicious, without making it look like he was a heel that had to cheat. And that's a very fine line, and I think they do that a lot better on NXT than they do on Raw or SmackDown, even though you guys know I'm a big fan of SmackDown. Next part was really cool for me because if you've been watching NXT for a long time, we know part of the ambiance of NXT is Corey Graves on commentary. But if you've been watching long enough, you remember when Corey Graves was an active wrestler, and they made the announcement on the NXT TakeOver pre-show that he is no longer going to be a part of NXT. His duties and his responsibilities elsewhere have become too much. He's doing the 205 Live thing. He's doing the Raw thing. He's doing Culture Shock and Superstar Inc. on the WWE Network. Plus, he does the panels for most of the pay-per-views, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a lot on this guy's plate for a guy that was a wrestler just a couple of years ago. So he's no longer going to be part of NXT. And going back to the UK tournament, his replacement on NXT is going to be Nigel McGuinness. Which again was an announcement that they made on the pre-show going into NXT TakeOver. He was part of the panel. He talked about a couple of things. He took part in a couple of interviews, etc., but really let Corey Graves have his last night, sort of thing. But Tom Phillips and Percy Watson, just why did they bring Percy Watson in? I know WWE is so afraid of how things used to be done with the two-man booth. Like, they've got the three-man booth on SmackDown, they've got the three-man booth on 205, they've got the fucking they've got the three-man booth on Raw. Let me speak properly. They've got the three-man booth on Raw, they've got the three-man booth on 205 Live with Austin Aries, which is another great addition. They've got the four-man booth on SmackDown. You guys know, I am Team SmackDown 100%. The one thing I could entirely do without is the four-man booth on NXT. On SmackDown. On SmackDown last night, you had at one point Mauro Ranallo, JBL, Tom Phillips, David Otunga, The Miz, Maurice, and Baron Corbin all around one table. Why? But it's cool. Starting next week, we're going to have Nigel McGuinness in his place. We're still going to have Percy Watson, which I can't stand. Lost my train of thought because that's how this goes. Tom Phillips introduces a video package for Corey Graves, talking about his career, talking about how his career ended, how he successfully transitioned into broadcasting. They showed a lot of videos and like personal videos that he did at the Performance Center while he was waiting to find out that his career was over. It's very, very sad. It's very touching. It's a success story in a way that one door closes, another one opens, all that kind of thing. And you see what Corey Graves has become now. He's a definite full-fledged cog in the WWE wheel, so you're happy for the guy, but again, you're sad that the guy got taken down by, I think he said 4 concussions in 1 year. So they let him have that. They all had a handshake between all of them at the booth, which was nice. And then, to break Corey Graves' spirit even more, out comes Elias Samson, because Elias Samson versus No Way Jose is the main event of this show. And guys, let me just tell you, other than the fact that Samson didn't get a chance to sing because No Way Jose cut him off, there's nothing to this. The No Way Jose character is garbage. The Elias Samson drifter gimmick is garbage. Samson sucks chance throughout this match, and I want to pull a Kurt Angle out of my ass and say, oh, it's real, it's damn real, except they both suck. The stupid bullshit pop-up baseball punch thing gets the win for Jose, and I couldn't care less. Samson, Jose, and Almas. Get them off of NXT, and it'll just make me a happier guy. This was not enough to ruin the show, though. We had a decent showing from the UK champion, which was kind of nice, a special exhibition match, and you had a great first match from Ember Moon and Aliyah, who I really hope to see a lot more of. Here's the deal. I just got ripped on Twitter tonight, actually. People still hating on me because I don't like Naomi, and knocking me for liking Liv Morgan. Here's the deal. When you had the 4 horsewomen, in NXT, you had Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, Bayley, and not Alexa Bliss, Charlotte. They all went up, and you didn't know who was going to pick up the slack. And Alexa Bliss went up there too, but she wasn't getting enough credit at the time, obviously. And then you had this next wave. The next wave is right now Asuka, Ember Moon, Nikki Cross. I mean, you had Mickie James in there for a night or whatever. Here's a newsflash for you. Those people are going to go up too. When you get the next wave after that, it's going to be Liv Morgan. It's going to be Aliyah. It's going to be Billie Kay. And it's going to be Peyton Royce. And it's going to be fucking amazing. No, they're not perfect right now because NXT is fucking developmental. If your argument, and this is a side note, I know, but if your argument to me is that somebody I like who's on the low card of developmental isn't on the same level as somebody on SmackDown. First of all, you're wrong because it's Naomi and she's garbage. Second of all, that's a very, very weak argument. I'm just going to put that one out there. Girls had the best match of the night. Obviously, don't know how much we're going to see Tyler Bate on NXT from here on in. They could treat him like they treated Cedric Alexander for a while, because Cedric Alexander, for a little while after the Cruiserweight division was announced, he was wrestling on 205 Live and Raw and NXT. Not a bad place to be, other than the fact that they partnered him up with Alicia Fox, which is questionable at best. So like I said at the beginning, like I said at the middle, and like I'm now going to say at the end, nothing to write home about in this show. Very structural, gave the people that weren't on the pay-per-view chance to breathe, chance to show you what they have. And that's never really a bad thing, is it? So, like I say, very, very mixed on this show. Let me know what you guys think. But for right now, I'm Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there. Talk down there. Start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.
You're a freak.